Good morning. It's Monday, exam week. I hope you guys are ready. I know that it's kind of hard, the first exam in any class, because you're like, but what's on the exam? What are they going to ask? So I think as we, kind of think about it, we can know that anything that the professor, this is true in any class, talks about for a long time. I know in mine, if I show more than one example, odds are it's maybe going to be on the exam. Hard to say. I think that a lot of times students want to know how many questions there are. Fair point. But the number of questions doesn't tell you anything about the difficulty. So you could have one question that takes you 75 minutes to solve, or you could have 100 questions that take 75 minutes to solve. So, and how do you count things where it's like, number one, part A, number one, part B? Is that one question or four questions if it has an A, B, C, D? So I think students often get really, I don't like the word bogged down, but you get really concerned about it. And so that's kind of hard. So today, if people show up, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comment box. If you don't, you can just hang out and listen. So the exam is on Wednesday, roughly 48 hours away. So if this is, what do we do now to prepare? So everybody studies differently. So I'm going to share my thoughts on how I would prepare in the last 48 hours. If you haven't studied at all, that is a different thought than what I'm gonna say. So, a couple of things. One, what we also need to think about is how on earth this is going to work. How do you study? What does it mean to study? In a chemistry class, is reading your notes enough? Not really, at least not in mine, because I'm going to grade your work. So it matters that you know how to write the question. So if you can solve it and you make a baby mistakes are, I calculated the molecular weight wrong, I did something small, but you knew the overarching theme, then you should get partial credit for that. So rereading your notes or rewatching all the videos is probably not the best use of your time. If you've never watched them, you should stop watching this right now and go watch videos. I'm going to make the assumption that you've watched all the videos, taken notes, and your question is, what do we do right now? What do we do? How do we do this right now? So my thought is you want to work problems. No, problems is like an ambiguous thing. So you should, or you could. So I have those worksheets on Canvas. If you've already started them, great. My suggestion would be to try those without your notes, because that'll kind of tell you how are you doing for the exam. Now, this first exam is open notes, so having your notes is good, but keep in mind that there's a time limit. So I would suggest worksheets without as many resources as possible, because in the grand scheme of things, an open note exam is a weird, I don't want to say like a weird flex, but it kind of is. So open notes tells me like you have access to all of your notes, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't study. So in this case, what we want to do is spend time studying and thinking about how do we move that forward. So that's one thing you could do. You could try to do that kind of stuff. So what else? You've already done the worksheets. You love the worksheets. You wish there were more worksheets. There's also the end of chapter problems in the book. Some of those that I've picked, maybe like, we've never done this before. Don't spend time on that. Move on. But I think the red ones are in the back of the book. At least the answers are. So if you're like, I don't know, you can send me an email and say things like, hey, Dr. Malcolm, in the other YouTube live today, the one at 3:00, can you tell me, like, can you show an example on this? That's a good question. If you are struggling on Alex topics, you can also send me an email about that. So a lot of times when we think about like, how many problems should I work? As many as it takes until you say, I know exactly what to do. Maybe that's 2, maybe that's 5, maybe that's 15. The other thing where you can work problems and it will tell you if you're right or wrong is ALEKS. So the homework system we're using, ALEKS, you can, now I'm going to talk you through this, and you're kind of going to have to just picture it. So you're going to sign into ALEKS, and then on the front page right now, it should say OpenPy. Well, it does say OpenPy. In an OpenPy environment, you have access to everything. So if you didn't finish maybe something out of chapter 2, you can go work on that right now, no penalty. If you're like, I don't really know. So maybe you finished all your objectives and you're like, I just hate ALEKS. You can also go back in and say, I think it's called relearn. No. You can go back and it is called relearn or retest or something. Basically, you can go up on the top bar and change it to see all of your completed objectives. Then if you're like, you know what I want to look at? Balancing equations. I hated that. I want to do that again. You can go in there and rework those. Now, you might be like, is it going to take my objectives away? Nope. It should not take your objectives away. Now, you may see it again on a knowledge check, but that's pretty much par for the course with ALEKS. So while some of you are here, I've gotten a handful of emails about ALEKS scoring. So the ALEKS homework system is composed of 2 components. One part is, did you turn it in on time? Or did you turn in most of it on time? So, and that's over the whole semester. So that's worth 100 points. The other 100 points is from your pie. Now, what does that mean? When you sign in, it has like a thing, like a pie graph, and in the center, it has a, like a percentage. That percentage is out of 100 points. So if you get 100% of your pie, you will get 100 points. If you only get 85% of your pie, then you'll get 85 points. It doesn't matter when you turn those in. You have all semester to do it. The other part of that is the turning them in on time. That will be scaled at the end of the semester. So maybe in the first couple of weeks, you've missed a couple here and there. That's okay. It's about turning in 85% of the total objectives. So if you miss 1 a week, not a problem. If you get all of them turned in most of the time, then it will not be a problem. If every week you can only turn in about 50% of them, it may end up being a problem. But it's okay. It is scaled, so if you turn in 85% of them on time, you get 100 points. So if you turn in 85.1% of them on time, you will get 100 points. If you turn in 100% of them on time, you will get 100 points. So it's okay. You can always come to office hours, the ones on Zoom or the ones here, and ask, like, hey, how do you do this? So all of that works. Those are kind of the thoughts that I'm having this morning. Let's see. Anyone have any questions today? I'm using my favorite coffee mug again because it's Monday, and Mondays are the worst. I hate Mondays. I've said it. Other study habits. Ooh, let's talk about testing environments. So in this case, we're going to use the Respondus blocker. If you like to listen to music, go ahead. It's not going to do anything. If you need to talk out loud, provided you're alone in the room, you're not going to affect anything. This is a lockdown browser, so it just means you don't have access to the internet, which is great. You don't need the internet. So other exciting thoughts and ways that we can kind of prepare for the exam. 1, at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, stop studying. Just stop. Take an hour, go for a walk. Take an hour, watch 1 episode of something that doesn't make you think. Make sure you eat a snack. I'd advocate for like a full-on lunch, but like a snack. Get some water. Maybe you need a coffee. Maybe you want to walk to a Starbucks if you're on campus. So you can kind of like think about all those kinds of things. So Sunny asked, if you've watched all the videos and done most of the ALEKS, I should just do the worksheets. Yeah. My suggestion would be to work more problems to prepare for this exam. It's a heavily math-based exam. So if you do the worksheets or you do the end of chapter problems, which are the ones that are like a list of problems in the back of the book, those are my advocation for how you should best spend the next 48 hours. I don't know that rewatching them. Now, I would say if you try to do an empirical formula and you're like, I just can't get that, then maybe go back and watch that video. Or if you struggle with limiting reactants, you can go back and spot check that and review your notes for those type of things. Yeah, glad to help. So I think those are the kinds of things that I would do. The other thing I would advocate for is to really think about what it is that you hope to accomplish during the exam. So don't forget, it's just a test. It is not the end of the world test. It is not the end all be all. It just is a test. So, 1, the best way to handle testing anxiety is to call it what it is. I'm anxious about this test. Then, when you start the test, find a problem you know how to do. Might be the first one, maybe it's not. That's okay. Find one that you know how to do. So on the exam, you'll see one question at a time, but you can move back and forth. So you can always look forward and be like, you know what? I know how to do number 5. Number 5 is my jam. Do that one. Find something you know what to do. Now, the other thing is the exam will be long. So make sure that you are spending time on every problem. You don't want it won't tell you there are 10 minutes left, but it will. Actually, I'm not sure what Canvas will do. I think it just has a timer at the top and is like, good luck. I wish I could say like, hey, you have 10 minutes left, but that's not something I can do. So you can do that. Keep in mind if you're like, I don't really know how this exam is going to go. There is a practice test, which is not a practice test. It is a practice system. So you can and should take that. It's worth 5 bonus points for the class for you to do this before the test. I'm not exactly sure how it will show up in Canvas, but you will get 5 extra points in order to do that. You don't have to, but this will give you the security in knowing you're not going to have a technical difficulty. It will force you to download the Respondus. It will force you to do the other things you need to do, and that will be easier. So you've worked your problems. You feel ready. Now what? That's really it. Make sure you're reviewing, but the day of is not the time to try to master anything else. But maybe you're like, you know what? I've worked this problem twice. I don't understand how to do it. Come to my Wednesday office hours. So Wednesday from 1 to 2 on Zoom. So you access those on the homepage. You click there's a Zoom link on the homepage. Click it. It'll pop you into a Zoom room, which is where you will be able to find me. If you come to those, you're like, I've done this 3 times and I just can't make it work. Well, we'll look at it together. So if you have other problems, you can send me an email. I will try to address it via email to the best of my ability. Hopefully it'll be easily addressable. If you're doing a problem, if you're working something out and you're like, I'm just really struggling, please send me a picture of your work and the problem. Because sometimes I can look at that and be like, oh, I see the issue. Just telling me that it's not working, I don't really know what you've done. And in the grand scheme of things, what we want is to try to figure out those types of things. So we're working our problems. We're reviewing. We're relaxing some. All of that is how this is supposed to work. To be quite honest, you're doing all the right things. I think the hardest part is that we don't really know what to do, and that's okay. Exams, it's okay to be nervous about the exam, and it is okay to be like low-key scared. I think that that's just kind of par for the exam course. You'll find this to be true in all of your exam courses. And I think it's okay to be a little like, oh, I'm not really sure what to do next. So, anybody have any questions about what to do, what you need to find? Any questions about resources that are available? Questions about video topics? So, as we start to think about exam life, the other important factor is to not pretend that Gen Chem 1 doesn't continue between exams. Starting next week, so this week there's no new material. So today we'll have the other live session. Those problems should be posted hopefully pretty soon. They will go in the same collaborative problem solving session folder, so you guys can look at them. So that will be helpful. They will be there. That way you guys can look at that kind of stuff. The other thing to kind of think about is, oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, making sure that we stay on top of it. Like, if you get nervous, if you have technical difficulties, send me an email. You probably have email on your phone, so even if you get locked in the Respondus browser, you should still be able to send me an email. If you can't, that's okay. Just send me an email as soon as you can. I will be in front of my computer between 3 and 4:15 to try to help in any way I can, okay? So if you're having issues with what does it look like, what do we do, how do we do it, all that stuff, we are very much happy to help, okay? I am happy to help. So that does mean there's no YouTube Live on Wednesday. Likely, if you are here, you already know that because we have an exam. Other thoughts? I feel like there was something else. Ooh, the other worksheets you guys could do if you're like, I need other problems. You could redo the collaborative problem solving sessions and then rewatch those just to find the answers or look at your notes. So David asked, and no problem about re-asking a question. There's no new material. There are no ALEKS objectives. There's also no weekly assignment. So this week, the only, I don't want to call it a task because that like way underrepresents what it is, but the only assignment we have this week is the exam. There's no ALEKS. There's no weekly assignment. All of that repicks back up next Sunday. So this week we have the exam, and then you are free to go until next Monday. However, if you didn't finish ALEKS objectives or it took some away in your knowledge check, during the open PI, you can go back and access those. Great question. Yes, no new material this week. No other excitement in the class. Just, I don't really want to say just the exam because that feels a little like downplaying. But all that we will turn in this week is the exam on Wednesday, and then you will have 4 days of nothing, and then next Monday it will re-pick up. Glad to help. Other questions? Anyone have any questions about the exam? Other questions about what happens after exam 1 in Gen Chem 1? Any of those kind of things? Let's see. The weekly assignments should be graded here pretty soon. On the exam, sig figs are definitely a real thing. You want to make sure that you are looking at those. Let's see. Other excitement. Actually, there's not really much excitement today. It's exam week, and so we're all kind of working on that. Other excitement. We are almost, I think this is the fifth week of school, and there's roughly 15, so it's like a third of the way through the semester. I can't believe it. Football's back. I watched some of the Saints game and some of the Cowboys game. I I love the Saints because I'm from Louisiana. I love the Cowboys. I'm from Texas. I like the Jags because I live here. So I'm not really a dedicated NFL sports gal. But college football. The Aggies don't play until the end of the month, so I'm really excited. I hope that they do well this season. We have a hard schedule, which is pretty normal in the SEC. So we'll just see how that turns out. Other things. Ooh, we can talk about if you're like, was I supposed to memorize the common ion table? Yes. And the periodic, not the periodic, and the elements. So I don't think I gave you guys this version. I gave this in a file. But if you're like, I still don't know any of these, flashcards. Flashcards will help. There will be, if you do not have a periodic table, there will be one built into the Canvas exam for you to use. It'll tell you where to find it and how to use it during the instructions for the exam. So that will be helpful. The common ion table will not be provided, but you hopefully have learned those or memorized those. If you really struggle with that type of stuff, there are some mnemonic things. Mnemonics are like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally in order to remember how to do a complex equation. I also think that for some things, particularly like elements, it's best to just use flashcards or Quizlet or something else. So hopefully that kind of helps. The exam will have lots of math. Please show all your work. All of it. You cannot earn partial credit on work you did on your calculator. You have to upload work. It's worth bonus points. Don't forget to write your name on the top of every page in a way that I can see it. So hopefully you'll remember to do that. It will tell you to do that. Don't worry. This is not like a one-stop opportunity for you to kind of figure that out. So it should be pretty easy, hopefully. Let's see. Oh, I think, so what happens on the exam if you're confused on a problem? You can write down what you know. So it's also okay if you do something and you're like, Dr. Malcolm, I listened. I know that the molecular formula divided by the empirical formula has to be a whole number. Has to be. But mine was 2.2. You can write I know this is wrong and move forward with that. You can earn a lot of partial credit that way. If you don't know something, you do have to solve the problem. Let's say you don't know the chemical formula for methane, and the question is about methane. You can make something up and move forward. Partial credit will be awarded for work that is shown. So, all right. Well, nobody seems to have any other questions. If you have a question, feel free to drop it in the box. Otherwise, I have another meeting this morning, but I will see you guys at 3 o'clock right here on YouTube Live. I will be somewhere with a whiteboard. So if you have a topic where you're like, I don't know how to solve XYZ topic, send me an email. You can drop it on that discussion board post that I think no one's ever looked at. It's okay. You could try that. If you come to the YouTube Live today, don't forget there is an SI review session that you can hop into. I believe they are tomorrow and on Wednesday. Per her announcement, she kind of went through what it is that you can do in any of those. I recommend that you guys go. So, if there are no other questions, I'm going to hop out, and I will see you guys this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed your morning. I enjoyed having coffee together. Bye!